These will be available on the city's grants webpage following the training. Give me 24 hours to complete that. You'll be able to review all of the slides that we're going to go over today will be available for everyone. Just some information. If we can have everyone say good morning in the chat and your name and organization. Renee Nicolosi, my Fearless Division Manager, will be monitoring the chat and she'll be able to answer any questions as we go along. A reminder that this is a technical information session, so you are allowed to ask questions regarding the notice of funding opportunity. However, outside of this platform, we are requesting that any questions regarding the notice of funding opportunity be submitted in writing, and I'm going to walk you through in just a minute on how to do that. But let me share my screen and we can get started with the slides.
And just for clarification, you can ask general questions about the NOFO, but not specific questions to your application. And if you think of a question after this meeting and you prefer to ask it in person, then through the email, you can just come to another session and ask it there.
So the next session following this one will be this Friday. I'm not sure. I believe it's at the same time, or it's 1 in the afternoon. We'll go through that slide in just a second. And then we have another session next Tuesday, and then a following set. Our final session will be next Friday. But good morning, everyone. It's so good to see everyone here today. My name is Mary Armbruster. I'm the Senior Program Coordinator for Grants Management with the Community Services Division out of the City of Gaithersburg. My Division Manager, Renee Nicolosi, is here as well. It's great to see the enthusiasm and interest in our Notice of Funding Opportunity for FY27. And we're just going to jump right in. Unless you want to say anything, Renee. I didn't mean to.
Good. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Okay. Click. All right, so our agenda for today, we're going to review the funding opportunity as well as those eligible service areas. Important dates for everyone to be aware of with those ever important deadlines. I'm going to walk you through the city's grants webpage. Where to find the notice of funding opportunity, how to submit those questions. This is new to the program, as well as where you can find the link to apply with your application. We're going to walk through the budget spreadsheet. I know this is the one of the biggest points of the proposal is your budget spreadsheet, as well as the new logic model. We are requesting that organizations submit an overview or a roadmap of their program and how activities correlate with outputs and outcomes, as well as those intended targeted numbers with measurable impacts. We'll walk through that in just a minute, as well as those grant award requirements and any next steps that organizations should be aware of. So this funding opportunity grant applications are now being considered for the City of Gaithersburg Community Services Grants Program. The community advisory, as well as community service staff, make up the selection committee. We will be reviewing and scoring grant proposals that are submitted, as well as allocating funds and recommendations to Mayor and City Council during the budget process. The maximum funding amount for the community services program is $769,195. And this will encompass 6 service areas that the city is looking to fund. The minimum award amount that an applicant may request is $5,000. We are not awarding anything below $5,000. And these contracts will be for 1 year with a 1-year option. These eligible service areas are going to be for food assistance, medical services, vocational assistance, housing preservation services, services for seniors and adults with disabilities, as well as mental health services. When you walk through the notice of funding opportunity on page, excuse me, just 1 second. On page 7, you will find the eligible service areas. And under these 6 main categories, there are subcategories on which an organization can apply. Because these are the targeted service areas the city has identified, it doesn't mean that we know all and know everything of the needs that are happening within the community. You all are on the ground doing the work. And if there is an unmet need that we did not name or point out within the notice of funding opportunity, please feel free to submit an application with strong proof of that unmet need within the community, and that will be considered under consideration for funding as well. And again, that is on page 7 of the notice of funding opportunity. I can't emphasize enough the importance of reading the entire notice of funding opportunity. It is a 22-page document. However, there is a table of contents that follows the document perfectly. You'll be able to walk through it. And then if you have any of those questions, we can answer them here, or in just a few minutes, I'll walk you through how to submit a question in writing. Important dates for everyone to be aware of. We are in our first session of our technical information session. These are our dates and times. The FY27 NOFO is open currently. All of this information is available on the city's website, as well as the application. The application is live currently. Applicant questions that are due in writing, the deadline will be a week before the proposal deadline on October 23rd. All questions that are submitted in writing, I'm going to do my very best to submit back onto the city's website within 24 hours. The FY27 proposals deadline is October 31st at 5 p.m. All of these deadlines are Fridays. The FY27 award notification will be going out in spring of 2026. We are starting a bit earlier than our usual grant cycle. This is to ensure we have enough time with the selection committee to review all proposals, as well as go into the deep dive with the budgets as well as logic models, because these are new to the program. And then we have our FY27 program year starting July 1st, 2026. When you navigate to the grants webpage at gberg.md/grants, you'll find which opportunities are available. We currently have 3 grant programs: our Community Services Grant Program, Youth Education and Enrichment, as well as our Parent Resource Center grant opportunities. These are on alternate years. So we are starting with our Community Service Grant Program right now. And we will be any type of grant opportunity will be available on this webpage. When you do navigate to the right-hand side of the webpage, you'll find a box, 3 boxes, and these will be your greatest guide on what you need in order to submit a proper grant proposal. On this center box right here, this will be your greatest tool in order to submit a proper proposal. How to submit grant applications, or how to submit questions as an applicant. You have your grant program budget instructions. You have the NOFO document here, logic model template, as well as those logic model instructions, your budget spreadsheet, and your application preview. The application preview is just that. It is just a preview document. Any applications that are submitted in writing or mailed in will not be accepted. All applications have to be submitted electronically through the portal system. Up here is our contact information. This is my direct desk line, 240-805-1827. If you have questions outside of the NOFO, I can answer those. You just email grants@gaithersburgmt.gov. It goes straight to my inbox. When we come down here to this final box, this is the actual online application. When you go into the application, you'll be able to save as you go. So if you need to step away from your computer or you want to come back to it, if you have questions you need from your program coordinator or from your finance department, you can come back to this online at any time. And we want to submit questions as an applicant. The form on the website has the link, as well as the NOFO has the link to this page as well. You submit questions in writing. If you have multiple questions, please numerically label them. And please make sure that they are relevant to this notice of funding opportunity. Of course, always remember, hit that submit button. Occasionally we have applicants who miss that final step. When we go into the application, this will be the front of the application. Again, you can save as you go along. There are asterisks. These indicate that it is a required question that you have to answer. And again, the minimum allowable for this program will be $5,000. I mean, the deadline is Friday, October 30th.
Mary?
Hear me, Renee?
Oh, I think I froze for a minute. I just wanted to give everybody a tip that even if you don't have questions, you should, if I were you, I would check this site periodically because somebody may submit a question that could be very helpful to you guys. And so I would just keep looking there because there might be updates there that will help you.
That's a great point, Renee. Sometimes an organization will submit an exact question that has already been answered. So make sure you read through those questions that have been asked and have been previously answered. They might knock something where you weren't even thinking to ask. So, and again, remember to hit that submit button when you are finished with your application. Once it is 5 p.m. on October 31st, this system locks and we cannot go back into submissions. To the budget sheet, I'm actually going to stop sharing for just a second. And I'm going to share the budget spreadsheet. See my budget instructions. Thank you, Renee. So when you open your community service budget spreadsheet, you'll have two tabs here at the bottom. We'll have our directions tab as well as the budget spreadsheet tab. The directions will walk you through on all of the terms that are used throughout the document, as well as the grant requirements. Again, the minimum grant award is $5,000. The program service allocation, at least 85% of your grant funds must be used on direct program services, meaning that no more than 15% of grant funds may be allocated to indirect costs. Funding cap from the city. The city will not award a grant to an organization where 50% or more of the grant award makes up the organization's budget. Again, those administrative and indirect costs, 15% of grant of funding may be used towards non-programmatic indirect or administrative costs, and then our salary and fringe benefits. Compliance and documentation, this is something new that the city is requiring. When a contractor submits an invoice, whatever is written as the line item, again, must have been approved during the allocation process or what was submitted with your proposal. Any deviation from those costs that were submitted need to be approved by the city first. If I were to come in for a site visit, I would maybe want to see invoices and or receipts that were submitted with that would correlate with what was submitted on your invoice. And you would need to be able to provide those financial reports demonstrating that you are in compliance. When we come to the second tab, this is our budget spreadsheet. You're going to want to put the organization's name, program name, date, and then the total organization revenue from the current file 990. Your 990 is a required document that you will need to submit with your proposal, and then your proposed number of clients to serve. Anything in green is city. This has funds in it right now because I did an example earlier this morning. But all of this will be calculated as you start to fill in your budget spreadsheet. The unit cost per client will be as you go through, as well as percentage from the city budget. If you were is your revenue, this will start to calculate as we go along. I did an example here in your personnel category. This blue section is your own organization's budget without the city request. So the city request is the funding that you are requesting. This green portion is what you are requesting from the city. For example, Mary Armbruster makes $80,000 a year, and you are requesting 20% of her salary to go towards this program. So out of 80% of 64 would be 16 hours for the program. And so you're requesting $16,000 from her salary. This section, again, is what makes up your budget without the city request. So even though Mary Armbruster makes $80,000 a year, this D column plus F column will equal this H column over here. When we come down to the type of program expense that you are requesting, you're going to put in your program expense in this column, categorize it, and then give a cost to what that expense is. Again, if you're requesting X amount for Smart Trip cards, this is what your program is going to fund, and this is what you are requesting. If it is $0 and you're requesting $1,000 to make up for the transportation, then you would just put 0 here, and then we would know that you are requesting full funding for that program expense. Here, this will automatically total the total sub-program costs as well as indirect. So this, or as well as your direct costs, this will be your personnel plus your program costs. And then you would indicate your total indirect costs here in this column. If it is more than 15%, say you ask for 16%, 20%, this column here will note if you are passing or failing within the category. So it'll highlight red and you'll know something is wrong within the document. Oh, it's my indirect costs can only be 15%. And then it'll pass again. This section here is your total budget amount request. And then this section is your total program budget for your entire program. So we'll be able to see. Since we're on this page, does anybody have any questions about the budget? Again, we're going to move on to what is new within the proposal is a budget narrative. This is a new requirement in the application. Your budget narrative would need to explain in writing justification for each of your line items. Anything else about the budget narrative, Renee?
Not that I can think of, but we encourage you guys to feel free to ask questions if you have them.
Budget narrative, it'll provide detailed explanation for each proposal expense in the program budget, describing what the cost is, how the amount was calculated, and why it is necessary to achieve the program objectives. So again, that is something new that we are requesting. Our program, the budget has always been a bit difficult for people to, or for applicants to complete, but we feel like we have really, um, what's the word? This has evolved. And we feel that a budget narrative is a great way for organizations to justify their expenses for their programs.
Especially, for example, if you put a high cost for transportation or for food or gift cards or something like that, the narrative gives you an opportunity to explain why that's an important element that should be considered.
In addition to that, Renee, is our new requirement for how many hours are worked per week. We have had organizations in the past when they do apply, trying to distinguish the difference between a part-time worker. A budget narrative will also give you that opportunity. In addition to the budget narrative, there is a staffing plan that is required with your proposal. And so that will give you opportunity to justify that there as well.
Mary, this is Cha Cha from CCACC. Can you hear me?
Morning, Chacha. Yes, good morning.
Okay, can you get back to like 3 slides back? There's the column. Next one. Next one. There's a column you said we can put 0, and then the next column you have 2000. I don't quite understand that one.
Second, let me pull the budget back up. Okay. So that's a great question, Chow Chow. So remember, this budgeted section in the blue is for your organization. This is what you are budgeting.
Right.
Or this is what you can provide to the program, or this is what you will provide to the program. And this could be, from other funds, from another grant, from other funders, or from your organization itself. We don't need to get into the weeds of that. But if this is specifically for the program, say you're doing transportation assistance for seniors, which CCACC does, and you need full funding from the city in order to provide this service, then you would request full funding from the city on
And
this.
I got nothing from other resource.
If you have nothing from
Okay.
another resource, this would be 0.
Okay, got it.
Mary, can you scroll up a little? So can you put your arrow so everybody can see the blue where it says budget without city, right? So that's your own budget, not including what you want from the city. And then over to the right, city of Gaithersburg request. So for example, say that you put $16,000, 16 hours for Mary Armbruster, but you did not have over on the left that she's got other salary and other hours from the agency. That might make us
That
ask.
should be okay, right?
Yes, it is, but it also helps us to get a better picture of the full scope. And so that's why we want both. But if you hire somebody part-time, you've hired Mary just for 16 hours, that's fine too.
Okay.
And again, that staffing plan, we'll go through that and we'll align it with your budget to see if your staff and your budget align. And your staffing plan should give a very clear understanding of if your personnel are part-time or full-time. And again, just a reminder, when we come down to the bottom, this total indirect costs, you are putting in your percentage. So if you leave this blank, then it's going to be blank. But you have to put in what percentage you're using towards indirect. Everything else is direct costs towards the program, including your fringe benefits.
And indirect costs, you don't have to list out. You don't have to say how much of that is going to the, say, your CEO or towards rent or insurance. You just have that amount allocated based on a percentage for you to use.
Mhm. Okay,
That was a great question, Chacho. Thank you.
thank you.
Logic model. So this is something new for our community service applicants. The selection committee will be evaluating logic models based on these identifiers, your program impact, and you have clearly stated an unmet need that is within the community. You have realistic outputs that can be measured as well as can be met within the grant term. So I am going to, sorry, stop share again. I'm going to share our logic model. So it's very similar to the budget spreadsheet. Down here we have our tabs. We have an instructions tab, we have the template, and then we have an example of a logic model. When we go to our instructions, I highly recommend that everybody read through the instructions. Logic models vary depending on who is presenting them and who has learned what in different ways. What the city wants, what we want to see, is how your program will impact the community, as well as is it meeting an unmet need. It is a clear roadmap. It is an overview of your program that shows how your inputs and what you're putting into your program correlate with the activities that you are providing clients that give appropriate measurable outputs to meet those outcomes and provide that impact to the community. Yes, Renee.
I just want to call out for everyone, and we'll talk about this in a little while, but each section has an eligible number of points that can be earned. So with a maximum of 100 points that you can earn through this application, the logic model is a lot of points. How many points is it, Mary? 20?
It is 20 points, yes.
So this is one of the heavier pieces because this basically is synopsizing for us the whole purpose of the grant, the unmet need, the impact you're going to have, how you're going to have the impact. So it's very important that this can be a game changer. If it's not done right, you can lose a lot of points. If it's done well, you earn a lot of points. So make sure you ask us any questions that you have on this.
The logic model is not the place to put the meat of your detail. It is meant to be, like Renee said, a synopsis. It is meant to be quick. It is meant to be a snapshot. It is meant to be clear and concise. We want something that is succinct. The meat of your detail needs to go in your program application, in the narrative of your program application. So for this example, for example, is an aging in place care nonprofit. They have identified an unmet need within the community that older adults in the Gaithersburg community face significant barriers to safely aging in place, including transportation, household maintenance, social isolation, and lack of accessible non-medical support services, and that without affordable, reliable assistance, many are at risk of premature institutionalization, declining health, and diminished quality of life. This applicant has identified that unmet need or problem within the community of Gaithersburg. And they have
And with the-
identified.
Mary,
Go ahead.
sorry, just to add to that, in your narrative, can you scroll back up, Mary? In your narrative, you're going to flesh this out with more evidence to support that this is an unmet need. So here you're just making your statement, but in your narrative, you're going to prove this unmet need.
And that can be with your data, with surveys, with studies, with community needs assessments. However you wanted to prove that unmet need, that will be done within the narrative of your application. Moving on to the program impact that this organization is intending to provide. It is to enable older adults to safely and independently age in place by providing non-medical supportive services, fostering social connection, and reducing barriers to daily living. And then they've given 3 of their intended outcomes. And then they have listed the service area that the program will be addressing. Again, on page 7 of the notice of funding opportunity are those 6 service areas that we're looking to fund. They are going to do services for older adults and people with disabilities. Under this subsection, there are subcategories that they are applying for, and it is these 4 subcategories. They're going to provide lighthouse cleaning, at-home activities, isolation prevention, and case management. When we
And
come
again,
down,
if you as an expert are aware of a subcategory we did not list, feel free to list it. Just in the narrative, you have to support that.
okay. The inputs are what you will be investing, what your organization will be investing. That is grant funding, staff, volunteers, technology. Whatever you want to list in this section is up to you. Again, this is not the time to submit narrative. It is not the time to submit paragraphs. This is just quick bullet points of what you will be investing into your program. When you go over to activities and outputs, what you will be doing, we're going to provide transportation and grocery shopping support. We're going to conduct home safety checks and minor modifications. We're going to offer friendly visits and social calls and hot meals. And we're going to connect seniors to community resources. This is what we are going to be doing within our program. This is something you should be able to name right off the top of your head. This is what we do in our program every day, all day. And how many are we going to complete? From transportation and grocery shopping, we're going to provide 150 rides. From those minor modifications, we're going to provide 75 older adults this opportunity. Friendly visitors, we're going to offer 100 seniors, visitors, and hot meals. And we're going to connect those seniors to community resources. We're going to offer 60 seniors referrals. And then your outcomes, these are going to include your numbers or your percentages and how you are going to measure these goals. So 150 older adults received access to groceries, errands, and transportations according to driver's logs. And again, this is something if you were to ask, or if I were to ask at a site visit, you will be able to provide those driver logs. 90% of seniors will report feeling safer in their homes after completing a pre and post program survey. 80% of participants report feeling less lonely or more socially connected through pre and post program surveys. And 70% of clients have successfully accessed new supportive services as monitored through case management. And again, if I were to come in for a site visit, I would let you know in advance if I needed to see client files, and you would be able to provide those client files on site. And then these long-term goals. These long-term goals, we're not asking for anything past the grant term. So within this grant term, 90% of clients served will be able to age in place at their primary residence through the contracted year. And then 85% of older adults report feeling well supported through post-program surveys. All of these have numbers or percentages and the measurement tools used to be able to prove those measurements. So surveys, case management files, driver's logs, whatever you wanted to use to prove that these have created impact within your program, we are allowed to ask for and to go through at those site visits. Go ahead, Renee. I saw you took.
So those 2 columns, short and intermediate goals and long-term goals. Basically, your long-term goal is your significant impact goal that you're highlighting up at the top, right? But you have other short and intermediate goals on the way to those long impact goals. So that's how, for me, it helps to think about it.
If I were to fill out an application for a community service grant, this is what I would do first. I would want to do an overlay of my program, and then I would use this as my map as I am completing the application. This is what I will be doing. This is how many I'm going to affect. These are my short, intermediate, and long-term goals. Again, all of this can be fleshed out within the narrative of your report.
All of it should be fleshed.
All of it should be fleshed out within the narrative of your report. Again, the identified need needs to be provable. The impact needs to be provable. And you would do all of that within your application. Any questions on the logic model? Share my screen. Okay. Okay. So this slide is fairly important. Again, on this side, on this right-hand side, you have thoroughly gone through the notice of funding opportunity. You have read the whole thing. You have submitted your applicant questions online. If you have any training, again, there are different sessions that you can jump on into, and then you wouldn't have to submit those questions. You could ask them right here and now. Your logic model has your clear roadmap. It is your overview of your program and how your program is going to have impact. You have your concise budget and your budget narrative. FormSite is the platform we use when you are submitting your application. Sorry, this is the screen. Okay, and then you will have the tools needed to submit a successful City of Gaithersburg FY27 grant proposal. Just in terms so everyone is thinking ahead, if you are awarded a grant, you have your grant award requirements. Just think just in terms of your own capacity, will you be able to meet those quarterly reporting deadlines? Are you able to respond timely to city communication and comply with HIPAA confidentiality if your organization is required to? You'll be able to, participate in an evaluation and site visit and comply with our quality assurance requirements and quality improvement plans when needed. When we do our quality assurance, I am walking through our quarterly reporting. I am giving each section of your quarterly report a score from 1 to 4. 4, you're outstanding, it's satisfactory, you don't need to hear from me. If you are scored within a 2 or a 1, that means you are out of program compliance, you are out of contract compliance, and a quality improvement plan may need to be initiated to get you back into compliance, and you would work closely with me to get you back on track. Our intent is never to pull awards away from organizations. Our main priority, of course, is the welfare of city residents, as well as ensuring that city funds are being used responsibly. That is our top priority. All of these city funds towards our grant programs are from city taxpayer dollars. And so when you are submitting your quarterly report, you're also submitting city addresses. This is to verify that you have met your required client output, and that we can verify through city addressing. When we take those addresses, we submit to our GIS division, and they map all of these addresses so that we can see where these programs are being utilized within the city. This just gives us more data on where the need is within the city so that we could target appropriately.
And just for clarification, that's incorporated city. So not anybody who has Gaithersburg in their address.
And if you go on, it's like page 2 or 3 of the notice of funding opportunity, it walks you through on how to identify a client is a city resident. The easiest way is to ask them, what color is your recycling bin. If their recycling bin is green, they are City of Gaithersburg. If their recycling bin is blue, they are a county resident. Next steps, submit your questions, consider which service area best fits your program. Ensure that you have access to the application. I've clicked on the link several times and it's taking me to the application, but if you have any technical assistance that you need, you can email grants@gaithersburgmd.gov, and I'll get to you as soon as I can. That grant deadline is Friday, October 31st at 5 p.m. And then those grant awards will be announced in spring of 2026. Is it. So we can take questions right now. If anybody has any questions, this is pretty straightforward. When you go onto the city's webpage at the top of the screen, you can go to services, community services, scroll through our community services page, and you'll find those grant opportunities. Again, all of that information is on the right-hand side of your screen. If you have questions regarding the NOFO, you can come to next Friday's information session where you can submit those questions in writing. Yes, Heidi Morales.
So I understood the minimum could be 5,000. What is the maximum that you guys could approve?
That's a great question. It depends on the service area. We don't have a maximum currently. However, we are looking to fund all 6 of these service areas. So if you ask for $700,000, the odds of it getting funded are very, very minimum.
We could not delineate the amount per category because there's 6 categories, so we wanted to be flexible.
These awards are for nonprofit organizations, 501c3s, as well as 509a1s. We understand that community organizations like faith-based entities provide a lot of support to our community, and so we are accepting applications from faith-based entities this year. If you meet within those 2 categories, you are more than welcome to apply. Fortunately, right now, we are not accepting applications from schools. I know that was a program that the city offered in the past, but we are not doing that currently, just so everyone is aware.
Can I give some tips, Mary, based on what we saw in the last couple of rounds?
Can we answer Dee's question first? Yes, Miss D.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I am with the Prevention of Blindness Society of Metropolitan Washington, and we provide school-based eye health services. So basically, we set up a mobile clinic inside the school. Kids come in, get their eye exams and 2 pairs of eyeglasses. Is that something we can do? Because I think I just heard you say that you're not funding school applications.
So that a mobile vision clinic is absolutely acceptable to apply. That is actually one of the subcategories of medical services is vision or hearing care. Because you are doing your services within a school is absolutely fine. What I meant by a school grant is that actual MCPS schools previously were able to apply to the city of Gaithersburg for a school-based grant program. So if they wanted to provide a tutoring program after school, that would have been in consideration, but we're not doing that right now. But absolutely, a mobile vision clinic is eligible for funding support.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No problem. Again, if you were to go to page 7 of the notice of funding opportunity, it has all of those goals eligible for funding support within those 6 service areas. And again, those service areas are medical support, mental health services, food, housing preservation, vocational assistance, and services for older adults and people with disabilities. So sorry, someone upstairs is vacuuming, so if you can hear it. Yes.
Chow, I have a question. You know my situation. CCACC is also representing home care partners and Gaithersburg Health for
Yes.
transportation. For FY27, are we still doing that as a whole team, or we just do for our own organization?
That's a great question, Chow Chow. So the city of Gaithersburg has decided to move away from collaboration grants.
Okay.
This is something we've been doing for many years where one organization would apply as the lead organization with subcontractors. However, within the notice of funding opportunity, if you were to read the whole document, subcontracting is allowable based on approval from the city. So each program that you do apply for needs to have its own program application as well as budget and logic model. So CCACC, for example, they do transportation. However, you also do home care services, right? So you would apply as CCACC for transportation for your transportation program, as well as you would do a different application under CCACC for your home care program. Does that make sense?
So
If you
even
were
for different divisions for me, okay,
yes, yes,
we need to submit separately.
yes, two different applications. If it's two different programs, it needs to have its own application, as well as its own logic model and its own budget. If
So
you
one
were
grant,
to,
for example, could get more than one grant award.
So then who's going to let other partners know that they need to come to this training to understand. Yeah.
They do, yeah.
So
This is something that we have been,
I know you have been talking about it, but I haven't, get a finalized, the decision from you guys. So I should let Mala and Willem let them know and suggest them to come to the next few trainings.
Yes.
So
Yes.
they'll know what to do.
Correct.
Okay.
That being said, so just thinking of the logic model example, it is a aging in place care example. This organization, their entire program has those 4 or 5 categories of transportation, of low cost housing, maintenance assistance, transport. So if your program makes up all of those components, that would just be one application.
With potentially subcontractors?
Yes. Okay. So next, I believe is Miss Kim. You had your hand up. Kim?
I had my hand up. Yes, I did. And then I put it down because I don't want to be redundant. I might have missed something. I'm kind of distracted. But the African American Health Program is a program in Montgomery County that wants to expand and outreach. So if we wanted to outreach to pregnant women through our SMILE program or provide nutritional education in the city of Gaithersburg, is that something that would be considered, or do we need to ask for special permission or review?
So if you can prove that need within the community, if you have the data to back it up, it can be considered for funding. Again, we're not looking to limit what an organization can apply for. You're the one on the ground doing the work within the community. If you see this as a need within the community and you can verify it and prove it within your proposal, it can be eligible for funding. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
From this, Kim. William, good morning.
Good morning, good morning. Sorry. So I'm assuming it's probably yes, but in the past, race ethnicity question was optional. Is that now required for reporting?
No. I remember this was like an issue with some organizations. It is
Okay.
not a requirement. However, it's extremely helpful for, any type of data submissions with your grant reporting. Um, it just helps us with the data within the community, with information within the community, which groups of communities need the most help. But no, it is not a requirement. We
Yeah,
highly recommend.
I'm glad though, because one thing I had trouble with when we in 2016 we moved to one system to another, we never asked for this ethnicity. There's a question
Mhm.
on there for that. On the what we're using for our transportation database. But when we started asking people for the race, we got a lot of pushback. People do not want to give their race, which I understand. So
I
that's why I asked
understand.
that.
I
Yeah.
understand.
Thank you.
Thank you, William. All right, anyone else? All right, stop sharing. Again, these slides will be available on the city's webpage. I do have everyone's contact information who's here today. So I'll be able to email these out to you as well. Renee, you had another question?
So we have a grants training that we're coordinating for all of our nonprofit partners. Has that invitation gone out yet, Mary?
No, it has not, but it will go out the latest the end of this week.
So it's going to be grant writing 101 plus budget plus logic model. You have to reserve to attend. What's the date, Mary?
It's the 22nd.
At 1 or at 9?
It'll be at 1 o'clock, from 1 to 4 o'clock. It'll be offered by Nonprofit Montgomery at the Gaithersburg Library. And again, just like Renee said, it's grants writing 101, nonprofit capacity building. It'll be on how to read a notice of funding opportunity, how to comply with the requirements, how you should be filling out your application. It'll go through our budget as well as our logic model. Renee and I, as well as our coworker Emily Lynn, who oversees our financial empowerment center, who has a great understanding of logic models and budget, will be there to answer any questions that you have. I cannot emphasize enough the importance on who should be attending this event. If you have a grant writer, um, uh, your executive, your program coordinator should all be in attendance. It's going to be a max of three persons per organization. Highly recommend going. It's a wonderful tool, great resource for you. If you want to submit a strong proposal, I highly recommend going to this training. And again, that's going to be on September 22nd from 1 to 4 o'clock at the Gaithersburg Library. A registration will be sent out very soon. We were actually emailing with Prophet Montgomery this morning. If you have any questions regarding that training, again, I can be reached at grants@gaithersburgmd.gov.
And it will not be virtual or hybrid or recorded, and it will only be held one time. And free to you.
Cover that, yeah. I think there will be like snacks as well.
And then I just wanted to give some highlights of some repeated shortcomings in a lot of the grants that we reviewed the last couple of times. So some tips: assume that the reader knows nothing about your agency and nothing about your program. Explain everything. Be specific. Answer all the questions. Anticipate what the reader might ask and answer that. Outcomes are goals that have to be met within the contract term. They must be specific, practical, verifiable, and show that the impact is being realized. The narrative summary is relatively short, which might make people think it's not important. It's one of the most important sections. It's the overview of everything, the roadmap of your grant application. So that narrative, program narrative section should give a complete overview of everything. Need must be shown, you must give the details, what's the service that's needed and why it's needed and what's the proof. And then each section will be scored independently. This is a big one. If you reference the answer in section 4 and I'm in section 2, section 4 does not exist for me. I have to score only from section 2. And so what we saw happening a lot was people were getting scored low in one section and they thought, well, I answered it over here. But no, you have to answer it in the section that it's asked in. And then Mary already said this, but just for clarification, again, separate programs mean separate applications, separate budgets, separate logic models. However, you know, if you're in one area, say older adults and people with disabilities, and you're going to target 4 separate areas within that larger area, that can still be one application because it's all together. But if you wanted to do older adults in those 4 areas, and then over here, you wanted to do a separate food program, not for older adults, that's 2 different applications. We have a couple more questions, Mary.
Registration for the training, thank you, Kim, is going to come from Nonprofit Montgomery, and I'm going to be giving them. That's a good question. It will be available on the website. I'll get back to you. I wouldn't see why not. We couldn't post this on the website, but I'll get back to everyone here today and let you know. The registration could come through email and be available on the website. I'm going to give them our contact list to be able to reach out to everyone, as well as I'm going to be reaching out to everyone. So,
Mary, does it have to go through Nonprofit Montgomery? Maybe it would connect better for people if it came from us.
they've insisted on doing it, but I wouldn't see why it couldn't come from us. So we'll get back to everyone. We'll let you know. We're like finalizing everything. Everything should be finalized today.
William?
William, do you still have a question, or is your hand up from last time?
I'm sorry, I forgot to take it down.
Okay. So Heidi, back to you if you have a question.
Yeah, I'm interested in that meeting, but I don't know if this is for our company. So I just wanna be clear if this is a program for us. So we are a company, a residential electrical company, and we are trying to promote the trades and get more high schoolers to explore, you know, the electrical trade. And there's a lot of high schoolers that want, you know, for us to hire them as apprentices, but we are limited to hire them and pay them, right? So is this the type of program that will give us some type of help or am I trying to apply for the wrong program?
Is your organization a 501c3 or nonprofit?
It's not a nonprofit.
Unfortunately, this funding opportunity is only for 501c3 or 509A1 organizations.
Okay, that's what I thought, based on what I'm listening. Yes, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, it's the first time that I'm in charge of helping the company to find out about programs. So I was just, you know, doing research, sending emails, and somehow, you know, I was invited to this meeting. But I'm gonna keep doing some research to see if there's like a program for us. Or if you know of any program and you're so kind to send me information, if you know of any.
You worked with Workforce Montgomery at all?
Say that again?
Workforce Montgomery, have you worked with them at all?
For some reason, I cannot understand you clearly. Workforce.
Have you worked with Workforce Montgomery, or have you ever had a meeting with Workforce Montgomery?
No. Workforce Montgomery.
Yes.
Okay.
They're a nonprofit with the county, and they do vocational and job assistance. They might be a good resource for you to reach out to.
Okay.
And then I would register or subscribe to the Montgomery County Office of Grants Management, because they release a few funding opportunities throughout the year. And I've seen them before for vocational assistance.
Okay, perfect. Okay, this helps me. Okay, so this program that you guys have is specifically for nonprofit organizations?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, good to know. I learned something new in case,
There you go.
you know.
Thank you very much. All right, Miss Denise.
I was going to jump in on two things. One is for Heidi, look at different nonprofit partners, because there are a lot of nonprofit partners. And if they could subcontract to you, which it sounds like that might be a possibility under this grant, then that might still allow you to do the work that you need to do and very much help out nonprofit organizations that are looking for paid internships or paid trainings for workforce development. And I think the organization is WorkSource Montgomery, is what I'm thinking. But there's also Career Catchers, I think might be another one for you to just talk to.
Yeah, there's Career Catchers, and you know what, Heidi, I can connect with you after. There's also Catholic Charities and Interfaith Works. And you're absolutely right, Denise. If they wanted to subcontract for a paid internship for a technical company, that would be a great opportunity.
And the other thing that I was going to add is somebody who's done a lot of different proposals for the federal government and for a lot of grant writing. What Renee said, I think the phrase that I learned early was answer the mail. In each individual section, answer the mail. What does it ask for? Put it in there. Even if you already thought you said it and you thought you said it really clearly, put it in there again if it's applicable in that next section. Answer the mail.
Thank you, Denise.
All right. Any more questions? Everyone has their cameras off. What's that? All right, everyone. Thank you so much for coming today. Thank you, Ms. Kim. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Chow Chow. Thank you, Millie. Again, if you have questions, you can come next Friday, next Tuesday, or the following Friday and answer them or ask them in person. Otherwise, I'll be checking that questions form frequently for any questions that are submitted through that process. But everyone, have a great day. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, bye.